They almost don't want to use the term, the war on terror, now turning into a war on words. The White House saying we need to be very careful when it comes to using that. My next guest doesn't quite see it that way. You see, his son, Daniel, was murdered by terrorists in Pakistan 7 years ago this week. Judea Pearl joins me now. Mr. Pearl, very good to have you.
Well, thank you, Neil, for being on your show.
I read your column. It was a wonderful column. Because you stepped back and just said you're afraid the stuff your son died for might have been in vain, that the world is now moving not away from the battle on terror, but even acknowledging that it is a war on terror. And what is your biggest fear? What's your concern right now?
Well, I'm concerned that we are not fighting the right phenomena. The right phenomena, as we look at the development of the ideology of terror, it is not just a tactic, it's an ideology, and it acts like a virus. On one hand, it's contagious, and it also acts like a cancer in the sense that it builds on very healthy tissues in our civilization. So we have to treat it as a epidemic. And we have, number one, to define it. And for some reason, the UN pretends that it cannot be defined. But every child understands what terror is. It's a targeting and injuring of innocent people for the purpose of broadcasting or transmitting a political grievance. It's very simply defined in a couple of words. Okay? And it's the ingredient that makes that phenomena unique is very simple. It's a license given to individual to elevate his or her grievances above all norms of civilized society.
So when you put this in the context, Mr. Pearl, of the Hamas fight with Israel in Gaza and equating the two on the same level as many in the media have been prone to do, you think that we have glossed over severe differences there, right?
I think that the atmosphere is to treat it, the strategy is to treat it as isolated phenomena, unrelated, whereas in reality we see here a common thread, which is this ingredient, that ideological virus that permits a person to elevate to amplify the grievance into a cosmic injustice and then provide oneself with a license to cross red lines.
So let me ask you, when we are now reluctant to use terms like war on terror or even to look at things as the way President Bush did, a battle between good and evil, that many have now said that's too simplistic, too black and white, and life is filled with grays. What do you say?
These are all terms which are poetic, and they are designed to convey a certain idea. The most important thing is a strategy. How are we going to fight it? Are we going to aim at the sources of this phenomena, namely education, namely media, the people who incite, and those incitement and building up of hypothetical conspiracy theories are as much a part of this phenomena as the people who execute the physics of terror acts.
So let me ask you, when the prior President Bush said, even in his final remarks, I believe you were in the audience, it was a select audience of 50 people at that time, that there is still a battle between good and evil going on. Do you agree?
I agree. There is something that is called absolute good and absolute evil. And we all agree on the manifestation of these two in certain areas. For instance, we all agree that child pornography is evil. And there's no dissent here. For some reason, terrorist act against innocent civilians for the purpose of transmitting political grievances is gaining credence, is gaining legitimacy in the mores of our culture, and that worries me.
Finally, and I don't want to bring up something that will just be unpleasant for you, but you've come here and that was very nice of you. In the Arab world, in much of the extreme Muslim world, they're celebrating the people who were behind your son's killing. And in fact, a couple of them, one of course a Gitmo detainee, bragging about it.
Correct.
How do you feel about that?
But this is not a uniform phenomenon for the Arab world, and it's not uniform for the Muslim world. There are some jihadi elements that are using it to recruit and to brag and to show power. But I think it's a minority of people, even in the Muslim world.
Then how do you feel about the shutting down Gitmo?
I don't care if they call it a Vatican, as long as they bring these people to justice.
Mr. Pearl, thank you very, very much.